Hi everyone, welcome to another Introverted Indies interview. I'm Lucy McLaren, one of the co-hosts of Introverted Indies, and along with my fellow host Lydia Baker, we interview indie authors with a view to spreading the word about their work because as indie authors we understand how difficult it can be to get the word out there about your book. So today I'm joined by Elizabeth Daly. Elizabeth, I'm going to hand straight over to you. So hi, thank you for being here and please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Elizabeth Daly, as you said. I'm an Irish author based in the west of Ireland, and I've been writing fantasy adventure for the last couple of years.
That's fantastic. So, delving straight in then, what was it about the fantasy genre that drew you in? Was that something that you were always interested in?
Since I was little. Yes, I grew up watching like Highlander, Xena, all the classic fantasies that I could find, and I just absorbed it all. Never mind just reading all that side of that, just consuming anything I had. So my mind has always been fantasy.
Yeah, I understand. So what's your latest book? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I'm currently writing book 3 of my series. I published book 2, Legacy Forged, in January. And so I'm
Hmm.
doing about 2/3 of the way through book 3, the first draft. So that's going to be called Legacy Bestowed.
Hmm. And what's the series as a whole?
It's the Legacy series.
Okay.
And so the first book is Legacy Bound, then Legacy
Hmm.
Forged, then Legacy Bestowed.
Okay, amazing. And what was the inspiration behind the series? Can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah, so I've always been sort of interested in exploring like that legacy, hence the name. The first book deals with the legacy of your past, how it shapes you, how it can hold you back, the sort of baggage that comes along with it. The second book, then, I sort of wanted to do a past, present, future. So the second book sort of explores choosing your own path and, discovering who you are when you sort of can
that?
move on a little bit. And then with the third book, it's Legacy Bestowed. So that kind of looks at what you leave behind afterwards, the impact you can have on people, and sort of that what lasts, the experiences that shape us throughout our lives.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And how have you found it writing a series? Because is this the third one you're working on? Is like the final book in the
Yeah,
series, or
yeah.
yeah? How are you finding it working on that? Because I'm about to start the third book in my series, and it feels so different to the first, where you're obviously setting everything up and it's trying to find that balance of telling enough without telling too much. And then the middle, you're just trying to keep everything moving, and the final one is so different, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely different from the other two because there's a lot of weight behind it. You're trying to sort of honor the characters, honor their journey, and trying to get them to a good spot, whether that's good or bad in the end. But it's a lot of threads to juggle and trying to interweave it. So it's going, but it can be hard.
Yeah, you want to make sure you get all those threads, don't you? And make sure as much as this is tied off and finished. Yeah. What's your routine for writing at the moment?
I try and write before I have a normal day job. So 8 to 4 is my normal day job. So I try to get up like an hour before that and just have that pressure of I only have an hour to write. So just write,
Yeah.
no distractions. That's what works best for me. Doesn't happen every day, but on the days that it happens, it works best. I get a couple of 100 words at least down,
Mhm.
and that's the aim.
It's all progress, isn't it? If you have that dedicated writing, it's just getting something down feels like progress.
And in the morning, it's especially good. There's no distractions, and I'm up before everyone. Like so, just sit down and focus because I tend to get very distracted very fast.
Yeah, so that's your writing time. And so the series is self-published.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about that process? Did you go into it with that plan of self-publishing from the outset?
I went in with the plan of it always was to be self-published. I did sort of go down the route of applying to some agents first, but it was about a couple of months before I was due to self-publish. I had already planned on self-publishing, and it was more just to prove to myself that I wasn't scared of trying that route, that this was the route I was purposefully choosing.
Yeah.
I always liked the idea of self-publishing, that it was very much a choose your own adventure type thing and you could control everything. So it's like I love all the different aspects, well, not the marketing, but all the other different aspects of like choosing the cover, getting all the technical stuff done. I always liked that, so that sort of appealed to me.
Yeah. And yeah, the creative control is such a draw, isn't it, to being able to self-publish. And now that it's so much easier than what, 5, 10, 15 years ago, there are so many options and you can really make it your own. How did you find that then, like going through the process of like getting a cover and did you have like editors or beta readers involved? Like what was the process?
Yeah, I'm part of a writing community online, so I was very
Hmm.
lucky to find some beta readers. I had some alpha readers at the start because it was a NaNoWriMo project during COVID. It started out as the first book. We were a group of 5 of us put into a group together and we were swapping chapters every week. So you were getting that immediate feedback. And
Yep.
then afterwards, I got beta readers to go through it. And then I had a wonderful editor who ended up going through it and they just were fantastic. They just made me sound so smart with word choices and stuff. I was like, wow, But I love getting feedback. Even when it's hard and even when it like cuts it apart, you can really see the areas where you're missing things. They really sort of point out those, help round you out in those different areas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so helpful having that outside view, isn't it? Because you be so in something and it's something you've created and it's quite precious once you've
Yeah,
put it down the page, but also we can be somewhat blind to our own, plot holes, or we obviously know everything that's going on. So having someone new come in and go, actually, have you thought about this or whatever it might be is really valuable.
I tend to lack description in
Hmm.
my initial drafts. So having a person coming in saying, "What does the room look like?" I was like, "Oh yes, I must actually add something in." It doesn't bother me, but other people need to know these things.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Yeah, I can just like I can see it in my head, so I just forget to actually write down what it looks like. Hmm. So you said you started writing it during COVID. So was it the first book that you wrote then?
I've been writing so since before I could write. I've been telling stories to anyone who would listen, basically. Um, and I wrote like my first book when I was 11. It was a 7-page vampire novel, and I'm
Amazing.
so
Hmm.
proud of myself that I finished it. And it wasn't until I hit 29 and I made a bucket list of everything I wanted to do before I hit the big 30. And top of the list was write a book. So I went and I Googled like how long is a book, how many words, how many pages, and I just started writing and it just sort of spewed out and it was wonderful. I wrote that book and I wrote 2 books after that. And then COVID came and it was sort of a no pressure, let's just write for fun, NaNoWriMo. I wanted to try it. I've never been successful at it. Wanted to see how it would go. Absolutely was not successful at it, but it got me writing the book. And it was really fun to write, just like that without the pressure of trying to do anything with it. It was just a fun write, exploring, all these sort of areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did NaNoWriMo a few years ago and yeah, didn't win, but it gives you something of a motivation, especially when you're with other people doing it. It feels great, even if you're not getting the 1,000 words a day or 1,500 words a day, whatever it is, but that regular routine. And like you said, you met people that
Yeah.
you've kept that relationship going, which is really valuable to have. Yeah, it's a good motivator. So those books you've written previously, have they been published?
So I write fantasy adventure. My first book was a fantasy romance, so I'm very much hiding it away forever. Uh, but I might come back to it at some stage. It has all those classic flaws that you would see in a first book type thing, but it's a darling of mine. The other 2 book I wrote after that, they have potential, I think, and I hopefully will be doing something with them. Just waiting to see. Just trying to get this trilogy finished before I'm trying to not lose focus and wander off in a different direction.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. You want to have that trilogy done, and
Yeah.
then you've got room for maneuver, haven't you? And have you still got that book you wrote when you were 11?
I think I have it in a box somewhere. I was a big lover of Interview with a Vampire at the time, and it was very much in the vein of, drama and romance, and it was fun. It's there somewhere.
Oh, that's amazing. It's nice to have those things to look back on, isn't it? And even with, like you said, with your first book, you can look back and see like the flaws,
Yeah.
and probably also see how far you've come as a writer. In each book that we write, we grow, don't we? You learn from getting the feedback from people. So it's really great to be able to see your own journey like that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really nice to see.
Yeah. So what do you do when you're not writing, Elizabeth?
So I'm part of like an online writing community on Facebook, the Writing Warriors, and I help run that. So that's part of my time, and then I'm part of a real life group in the west of Ireland. But other than that, I love traveling. I adore going places every year, wandering old streets and just taking photos to remind me that streets are not flat and, straight all the time and stuff like that. I just love going seeing new places. I love going to the cinema. Big cinema fan, and I've recently just started playing Dungeons and Dragons.
At night, are you new to the game?
I've been watching it since COVID, so I've
Right.
been watching it online, and I've
Hmm.
run a few games for a friend, but I never played until about 2 weeks ago, and that was
Nice.
the first time playing, and it was so much fun.
Hmm. It is so much fun, isn't it? But it's so complicated. I played it a while back pre-COVID and needed someone there who knew what was happening because it's all these complex different like, character stats and stuff, and I
Oh,
just had absolutely no idea.
yeah, yeah. The person who was running it, he was lovely, and he sort of brought us through it all, and he was very gentle. He knew I was new, so he was very much checking in to make sure I was okay.
Yeah, that's definitely needed. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And sorry, you said your Facebook group is called Writing Warriors.
Yes, the Writing Warriors.
Hmm. Yeah. And so that's a support group, a community for writers.
Yes, it's for writers. Generally, it's geared towards fantasy
Mhm.
writers, but we sort of accept anyone who's just generally writing. And we have prompts every day, a world building prompt or a character prompt or just a check-in prompt to sort of get people involved. And then we do swaps like that to get those beta readers. We do swaps every quarter to be able to show people, get people's eyes on pages and get feedback for other people. So it's a lovely community. It's a nice sort of tight knit one, but we love new people. You know,
Mm.
it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. It can be so hard to
Yeah.
find like-minded people and to find people that will want to swap with you. When I started out, I was just kind of putting it out into the ether on social media and was fortunate to form relationships that are still going now, but I also had a few false starts where, we'd swap and then it wouldn't be the right fit or the other person would just disappear. So
Yeah,
having a community where that's the intention to bring people together is great.
absolutely.
Um, and you mentioned an in-person one as well. Is that a writing group?
Yeah, so it's a
Hmm.
local writing group. We meet every Wednesday, and it's a very supportive. It's mostly poetry and prose, and it's all over the place in terms of anyone can come in, and it's very much based on support and encouragement of come in, read something out, and we're here to support and cheer you on.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. Which would you prefer, or is it kind of different having a group online or in person? Like, I suppose it's different dynamics.
It's a very different dynamics. The online one is more focused on writing novels and all the aspects that go along with it. Whereas the in-person group, you can write anything you want. There's no pressure in terms of publishing. There's no expectation that everyone wants to be published. Is just sort of more a hobby for some people or just an
Right.
enjoyment that they get out and they just come in to share. So that gives me a community in person, whereas the other one gives me a
Yeah.
place to be with people who understand the struggles of trying to get a book together.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So you get different things from each of them. I do think that having a community around you as a writer is a really important
Yeah,
part, isn't it? It can be quite a lonely thing, writing a book.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. That's one of the things I very much am in favor of finding that community because it's so lonely being a writer by yourself. I've done it for years and it's hard.
It is hard, and I don't know about you, but I, you know, if I could speak to my husband about it, or whatever, he will, you know, sympathise but not really get what's happening. Like if I've got writer's block or whatever, or going through like querying or editing or something, you know, there are struggles that come with each phase of writing, aren't there? But he won't ever fully get what that feels like, whereas other writers can appreciate what you're experiencing.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
I wanted to go back to something you said earlier, Elizabeth, about marketing. Now, yeah, marketing, yeah, probably perhaps a writer's least favorite word. How have you found that process, and is it something that you feel like has changed as you've written the series and gone along, released book one, released book two?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you release book one that I sort of really tried to throw myself into the marketing and trying to build up a community or build up followers and interact with people and that. And then and that was good, but it took up so much time and effort that it was very much I had to pull myself back after a while to try and balance it a bit more because it
Yeah.
takes a lot to try and get any traction. And then with book two, it was much more quieter in the sense of, I just wanted the book out there in the sense, and I wasn't really sure and how to market a book two. It was a different struggle in the sense of how do you get this out, but you're still trying to promote book one. And I still don't really know uh, the answer to that.
Yeah, I had similar release in book two in my series where like this kind of has to be marketed to people that have read book one, or you have to market book one alongside it. I feel like releasing the third book, and I imagine it'll be the same for you, you then have a complete series, right?
Yeah.
And it's easy, that's like a whole package you can market. Whereas when you're in the middle and it feels like a very grey area as to how you
Yeah.
actually market book two. I don't have the answer to that either.
Yeah.
Um, is there a type of marketing that you'd say you would use the most or have found the most comfortable for you to use?
I don't like being on video. There's some people who I really admire them the way they can go on
Yeah.
and just talk. I'm not great at
Mhm.
talking. And so trying to sort of be spontaneous in a video while very much not me. So I like to explore ideas, through
Mhm.
different sort of ways. I've been sort of playing with that, trying to share
Mhm.
my book myself, my views in the sense of,
Yeah.
what's important to me. Uh through Instagram at the moment. I've tried TikTok, but it's very much different beast.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you've got to find what works for you, haven't you? Like, yeah, you see people that are really good at promoting themselves and doing videos and following perhaps the trends. And TikTok, I think, is one of the places that is very trend heavy. I couldn't keep up with it fast enough personally. It's constantly shifting and what the expectations are, what the algorithm is doing. It hurt my brain.
Yeah, yeah. And anyone who does it, I really admire them for being able to do it. They're wonderful. It's not for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because the thing is, short form content like that, like marketing content, is so different to what we're doing, right? Like we're creating books, which is obviously long
Yeah.
form, and it's something that takes a long time, and it's a completely different process. Marketing, it feels like such a completely different headspace to be in.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's a very much you have to shift to that almost third side of your brain to and then sort of look from the outside in onto what is best for how to market, trying to sell the book. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know about you, but feel like I'm still trying to work that out. Like, I've released three books at this point, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's still a learning curve.
Absolutely. It's that sort of trying to figure it out and see what works, see what doesn't, and it doesn't make any rhyme or reason or sense. So what might work one day might not work the next day. So I've just decided to try and not try to chase those trends and try to, it sounds a bit contrite, but be true to who I am, not be false and just sort of, yeah, let myself be who I need to be.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it takes the pressure off
Yeah.
a little bit as well, um, because you can feel that intense need to keep at it, to keep plugging away. But actually, that takes a lot of mental energy. And I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but for me, I found that then it was like impacting on my ability to write because so much was being drained by the marketing side of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely agree with that. Yeah. It just sucks it all out of you. Yeah.
Hmm. Would you say that Instagram then is your like your platform of choice?
Yes. Yeah. It's very
Hmm.
much, I really like Instagram. It's nice. I would say it's nice and gentle in the sense of it gives me what I want.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So looking back on your self-publishing journey and everything you've learned, would there be a particular tip or piece of advice you would give to anyone that is starting out on their writing journey?
Yeah. Basically, I say this to anyone who's starting, just to keep writing and have fun. To ignore all the rules and regulations that go along that people say, like
Yeah.
all the three act structure or save the cat, or all this type of thing, to ignore it all, because I think any writer's perfectionism is a real sort of disability,
Mm.
trying to get that perfect first draft. And I think as you sort of write, you sort of get to learn that there is no perfect first draft. But I think new writers can get caught up and sort of into a cycle of trying to make that perfect first draft. And I've seen so many people destroyed by that. And, if they just keep writing
Yeah,
and just enjoy it and have fun and don't worry about it, it will come together in the edit. You can't edit an empty page, as this saying goes,
exactly.
so just
Hmm.
to enjoy the process. Writing can be fun.
Yeah,
It should be fun.
it can. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Take out that perfectionism because, realistically, a perfect first draft doesn't exist. I would say a perfect draft full stop probably doesn't exist because there's always at least a typo or a handful of typos that somehow survive several
Yeah.
rounds of editing. I don't know how. I kind of have respect for them because it's like, okay, you've made it, so there you
Yeah.
are, you're in the book. It's having to let go of that, isn't it? That idea that there's a point at which your book will be like completely perfect. You can make it the best version
Yes.
possible, but there's got to be a point at which you, the first draft, like, yeah, that's done, and through the rounds of edits, and then when it comes to publishing, you have to have a cut-off point where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that is good enough.
I was saying it to a friend this morning, about getting feedback, that you will always, if you put your book out there to get feedback, you will always get feedback. You'll never
Yep.
be told it's a perfect scene or a perfect chapter, because you're basically paying them to give you feedback. That's the
Yeah.
contract you've entered. And it will never be perfect. And to try and just sort of realize, when is it good enough for you to be able
Mm,
to move on, and then go through those drafts and get it as polished as possible. But it's never
yep.
perfect. Like you say, there's always that one little typo that hangs in there.
Yeah, they're just tenacious typos. They survive somehow. So I'm going to do the quick fire round now. So, what's your favorite book?
Night Watch, Terry Pratchett.
I need to read more Terry Pratchett. Like I've read maybe a couple of his books.
Yes.
I know it's obviously such a vast catalogue to get into, but I feel like he's probably a must read for a fantasy writer. I need to crack on with it.
He's definitely different in terms of his sense of humor and style, and that quirkiness, which is nice, gives you that sort of break. And Night Watch is his more darker book. Uh, so it's an interesting read, but one I really love.
Hmm. Okay. Favorite game?
I'm going to go with like Baldur's Gate 3 if you're on about video games, or Dungeons
Mm.
and Dragons at the moment
Hmm.
if you're on about
Hmm.
board games or all that type of thing. But basically, they're the same
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, good choice. Favorite film?
Lilo and Stitch is my favorite film.
Ah, yeah, that's a great film. And favorite writing beverage?
I have herbal tea.
Hmm.
Um,
Nice. Yep.
yeah,
Can't go wrong with tea.
uh, currently pear and elderflower combination, which I
That
found
sounds lovely.
lovely.
All right, Elizabeth. So, wrapping up then, can you tell us about where we can stay in touch and learn more about your books?
Yeah, so I can be found at Elizabeth Daly Author. That's my website, and you can also find
Hmm.
me there on Instagram as well. So it's fairly simple. Uh,
Perfect. Well,
yeah,
thank you very much for joining me. It's been really
yeah,
lovely
thank
chatting to
you.
you. Thank you, everyone. And I'll see you next time on the Introverted Indies YouTube channel.